Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to bring to you the next Member of Parliament and Minister of whatever it is in the next PNP administration, Dr. Andre Haughton.
So much for that dramatic introduction, Clayton. Montego Bay, it is good to be here. Let me first and foremost big up my campaign team, Councillor Kerry Thomas, Councillor Michael Troop, our councillor candidate in the Spring Garden Division, Warren Murray, as well as my other team members, Maureen, such a lovely lady she is. All my well-wishers, good evening. Tell the mayor that he has until the 6th of May to put back my posters or give account to the ombudsman. And we say that very seriously. And when it passes the ombudsman, we're taking it to the courts, the Privy Council, and the Supreme Court even. Because what we're witnessing in this parish is a very trivial approach to leadership, a very trivial approach to politics. And we believe that they are disguising the political victimization under the auspices of the power of the parish council. Fellow Montegonians, fellow comrades, fellow well-wishers, what I truly desire for this parish is to rid itself of its triviality and to begin to internalize and recognize that Montego Bay has far more potential than that which it has displayed over the past decade and a half. What I want, fellow Montegonians, is for us to have real ambition. Not just petty ambition like the development of a Harmony Beach Park or a perimeter road. But I want us to have real ambition of not just being called the second city of Jamaica, where our people serve tourists and where we have our people calling through business process outsourcing, but where our young people believe in themselves and are given the necessary foundation, not just to be servants, but to be creators of technology, creators of innovation, and to be real creators of change and development for our great city. When you look around you, Montego Bay has been evolving, right? We have moved from an agricultural economy throughout the 1960s, 70s, and 80s to a country now that is accommodating technology in all its forms. And you see it around you. We have the Barney Tech Park, and within the communities, we have created small hubs where people can have livelihoods. We talk about the tech park that Councillor Troop and myself were built in Pitford, where young people have a place to gather, a place to learn, and a place to understand where the world is going through technology. The idea is that what we've seen thus far is a start, and a very good start. But as the race continues, we need to build on that start and to move Montego Bay from just being considered as a tourism destination, from just being considered as a business process outsourcing destination, to a place where we push towards knowledge process outsourcing, to a place where our young people are integrated into the foundations of technological learning and the foundations of innovation, where we can consider ourselves a modern metropole and not just the second city of Jamaica. If you look around you and you watch the news, the world is changing. So countries are now internalizing their productive efforts and internalizing their ambitions. If you look at what is happening with England and Brexit over the last decade and a half, England has been withdrawing itself from the EU in order to build itself as a great nation. If you look at the policies in China, they have recognized that in order to compete globally, they must equip their population with the necessary knowledge and expertise that they need to be the producers of this modern world. If you look even at America, with what Donald Trump is doing, though not seen as the perfect economics by us as outsiders looking in, but there's an attempt to bring back industry to America, to bring back livelihood to America, to bring back the productive efforts to America, and he is making a stance. If you look at what is happening in Africa with Ibrahim Traore, he has expelled France from his constituencies, expelled the colonizers from the productive efforts of his country. He has also expelled the donors and the international lenders from participating in the modern development of his country. These are just examples of how developed and developing countries around the world are putting measures in place to ensure that their citizens are not only servants of this world, bringing food on a platter to tourists or answering calls to satisfy demands of what foreign nationals need, but they are being provided with the necessary underpinnings of technological advancement that these countries need in order to move forward. Jamaica must do the same. And Montego Bay has an important role to play in this modern development that Jamaica must embark on. We must not just see ourselves as a second city, trying to be secondary to what is happening elsewhere. We must see ourselves as a modern developing city, rooted in the development of our people, rooted in the empowerment of our people, rooted in creating wealth for such remarkable people who make this city what it is. And I must say, there are still many of us who believe that we must maintain the dogma of low education so that we can become or maintain our riches and our wealth. But if you recognize across the world, it is not about sharing a small pie. It is creating a bigger pie that can be shared amongst many more people. This is where Montego Bay ought to go. And this is where we see ourselves as a nation of people, a nation that is embedded in the bowels of the Caribbean belly, a nation that has the potential to be the hub of Caribbean trade and commerce, a nation that has a strategic location that the pirates used to navigate themselves across the length and breadth of the Americas and to reach strategic locations quickly and very expeditiously. Montego Bay as itself must recognize that in order for us to create wealth, in order for us to maintain our status as a modern metropole, we must empower our people with the necessary knowledge and expertise that they need to participate in where the world is going. I cannot overemphasize the fact that Montego Bay has untapped potential. And I say to you, Singapore and Jamaica export a container of chips. The value of Jamaica's container of chips, 100,000 US dollars. The value of Singapore's container of chips, 100 million US dollars. The difference here is that Jamaica is stuck in a banana chips mentality, while Singapore has voyaged into a microchip mentality. We have to bring these issues to the fore because in 1950, Jamaica was a more developed country to Singapore. Singapore was a swamp just being annexed from Malaysia, just being dissected from their mother country who they depended on so much. So they had to make a conscious decision. Who are we as a people? What do we demand? And where do we see ourselves going in the next 50 years? 50 years down the line, Singapore economy is valued at US 550 billion. And if you take other countries with similar population size to Jamaica, Ireland, their economy, 500 billion. You take other populations similar to us, Israel, their economy, US 525 billion. What is the value of Jamaica's economy? 17 billion US dollars. 17 billion US dollars is a small drop in the bucket compared to our potential. That 17 billion, when you divide it by 3 million people, it gives us a GDP per capita of just about 7,000 US dollars. In order for us to be considered a developed country, we need to double that 7 billion to a mere 14 billion, just a billion over the threshold that the World Bank and the United Nations set for us to be considered to be a developed country. Let me say that again. GDP per capita in Jamaica is just $7,000. In order for us to be considered a developed country, we must double our GDP per capita from $7,000 per person to at least 13,000 US dollars per person. 14,000 when you talk about purchasing power parity. And we have the potential to do so. We have the capacity to do so. We just do not have the ambition to do so. What I've seen from our politicians is mere trivial approach to leadership. So we take photos at events. If a road is being paved, we take a photo. If a school is being opened, we take a photo. Not the laborers, they haven't built any schools. Most of the schools are built by the People's National Party. And we must own that, because we are the party that understands that knowledge is the root of modern development. And we cannot overemphasize the fact that Jamaica is at a critical juncture in our modern life. It is not just about paying lip service to what is happening and giving comments to what is happening and taking directive from outsiders and people who do not hold us dear to our hearts. It is for us to recognize that as a nation, we have the ability, we have the potential, and we must use this ability and our potential to our greatest benefit. Our young people are ambitious, and if we do not provide for them the avenues for which they can generate wealth legitimately, they themselves will create avenues for which they can create wealth illegitimately. And we have seen where that has brought us. That has brought us to a lot of chaos. That has brought us to increase crime and criminal activity. It is time now for us to take control of our city. It is time now for us to take control of the future of our people. It is time now for us to recognize that the government currently in power does not hold our citizens dear to their heart. They believe in their own wealth. They believe in their own selfish objectives. They believe in their own ambitions for themselves and their families. So that is why when I do my research, the two most fundamental variables that impact the productivity of our people is one, our human capital deficiency, which is the level of education of our people, and two, the level of corruption that has plagued this country over the last 10 years. And we must begin to recognize that the success that countries have engineered over the last 50 years, over the last 60 years, over the last 70 years did not occur by chance. It was a properly orchestrated, properly engineered, properly planned approach towards the management of the people of their countries. In 1950, technology represented only less than 1% of China's GDP. Today, technology represents over 32% of China's GDP. If I were to ask you what percent of Jamaica's GDP is technology, none of you could answer that question. And that is the most fundamental question any country can ask itself in 2025. Today in 2025, Jamaica, who was a developed country in 1950, is still stuck in 1970, while China, who was an underdeveloped country in 1950, is now living in 2070. That is a point for us to introspect in ourselves, to say, who are we as a people? What do we want for our country? What do we want for our city? What do we want for our citizens? And I say to you, my fellow comrades, we have failed our people dearly. And it's not about the politics. It's about the leadership that the politics have overshadowed in so many ways. And I myself, as an academic, has made the sacrifice to join the realms of leadership for this country. And you know what people say? Please, when you go into politics, don't change. Because politics have changed so many of you. And they message my phone continuously on a day-to-day basis. Andre, try to maintain yourself. What does that say to you as a Jamaican? I don't know what it says to you, but I know what it says to me. It says to me that there are a set of house slaves, a set of wannabes who pretend to be leaders, disguised under politics, and use their position to overpower the rest of the country, to rob us of our budget, to build. It is so disrespectful and disheartening what I have seen from the leadership of this country. And as a young man, I am ashamed of the country. I am ashamed of the leadership of the country. And many times I get the podium and I do not speak about it because it's just lip service. I am just waiting to win, to make the difference. Because I say to you today, the Andre you know from 1982 is the same Andre you will know in 1990. And the Andre you know from 1990 is the same Andre you know in 2000. And the Andre you know in 2000 is the same Andre you know in 2012. And the Andre you know in 2012 is the same Andre you know in 2025. What could come over me to adopt the dirty, illicit ways of these politicians that I myself despise so much? And I must say it because I joined politics not as a politician, but as a leader. But being in politics, I have recognized how conniving these people are. How and it's where there's no light from KFC. Where there's no light from KFC to walk on our tourism strip past Aquasal Park all the way to Margaritaville, the place dark like midnight. I say to you, where Sam Sharp Square is has not developed since they built those statues. St. James Street has not changed since they built those statues. We live in a dirty city, and instead of cleaning up the city and evolving the place, the mayor is concerned about tearing down my posters because the JLP see the People's National Party and myself as a threat to them and their dominance in Montego Bay. But alas, the slavery mentality that these leaders in Montego Bay have, the disenfranchised of our communities, the suppression of our communities to state of emergencies and zone of special operation shall be no more, because we believe in the potential of our people and we believe in the education and empowerment of the people of Montego Bay. And through that, we will create civilized persons who understand that crime is not the way to create wealth, who understand that belittling your neighbor or shooting your friend is not the way to create wealth. We create wealth through harnessing our potential, through improving our education, through giving ourselves the opportunity to exfoliate our knowledge and to live in a community that is equipped with the necessary infrastructure that our young people can explore their full ambition. And that is why I decided to offer myself as a politician in Montego Bay. Tell the mayor, forget about the posters, focus on the development of the city. The city is dirty and the city needs modernization. Listen, since I've been here, I've been on a program to make Montego Bay safe. SAFE. And we have our website, it's called asafejamaica.com. You can check out the work that we've been doing. S is for sports. And you've seen the sports and the sporting activities that has been taking place. We use the sports to bring peace to Granville. We use the sports to bring peace to Montego Bay. We use the sports to bring peace to Mount Salem. The arts is for art, the A is for arts and artistry. And we've held a lot of pain for peace. And we've created platforms where those of us who are artistic can use our skills and generate income from those skills. The F is for financial literacy. And you've seen my financial literacy classes. You've seen them on the internet. That is what we are doing in these communities. And the E is for empowerment and economics. And that is the foundation of the development of these communities. I am the Shadow Minister for Science, Innovation, Technology, and Entrepreneurship. And I believe that we now have to invest in the science of the country. He spoke about it. Alan came here, he spoke about it. We understand what it is going to take to move a nation of such remarkable people from the bowels of poverty and the job creation that Andre Haughton focused so much on to the depths and the heights of wealth where Jamaica and our people belong. The idea is that we must become the new technological hub in the Western region. We have to continue to forge partnerships with India, to forge partnerships with China, to forge partnerships with our African brothers and sisters. Because whilst Jamaica represents a market of just 3 million people, Africa represents a market of over 1.2 billion people. So we have to reintegrate ourselves. The triangular trade that left from Africa to Europe to the Caribbean must now become a linear trade directly from the Caribbean to Africa. And that is what we are here to develop. That is what we are here to maintain. And I say to you, my fellow comrades, that this is just the beginning of a new nation. This is the beginning of real change. And this is the beginning of a foundation that Jamaica must lie in order for us to re-engineer the thought process of our young people and create wealth in the mission. Love and blessings, everyone. More big up to you.